What happens when you choose love over family? Before we begin the story, make sure to subscribe to our channel and never miss more incredible stories every day. The family who disowned me for loving Sam just begged us to come. I was stirring canned soup on our tiny stove when my phone lit up with Jason's name. We hadn't spoken in almost 3 years. For a second I thought it was a mistake, some but dial from the old life I'd buried. Then it rang again. "Just answer it," Sam said quietly, wiping flour off their hands. They'd been shaping dough on the thrift store counter we'd turned into a makeshift prep station. Our one-bedroom apartment smelled like garlic and yeast and cheap tomato sauce. It smelled like our life, simple, a little chaotic, but ours. I picked up. "Jason." His voice was hoarse. "Alex, we need you. Mom needs you. It's bad." My chest tightened. The last time I'd seen Elena, she'd told me I was dead to her. Literally. "If you walk out that door with them, you don't have a mother anymore." She'd said it in front of everyone, champagne glasses still clinking from the birthday toast. I'd walked out anyway, fingers laced with Sam's, heart pounding so hard I thought I'd pass out on the driveway. "What happened?" I asked. Jason hesitated. She collapsed at a charity gala. "There's other stuff. The lawyers said they need you." From the stove, Sam watched me, eyes full of a fear I recognized too well. Jason lowered his voice. "Alex, if you don't come, we could lose everything." I didn't tell him the one thing I was terrified of losing was sitting right beside me. His next sentence made my hand shake so hard I almost dropped the phone. "Please, we need you to sign the papers before everything comes out." She didn't mean legal papers, and what needed hiding was far uglier than money. I grew up hearing 3 rules more than I heard. "I love you. Family first. Never air dirty laundry. And don't embarrass us." Elena said them like prayers, usually while straightening my collar before some event. My father left when I was 6, so appearances became her religion. She worked 2 jobs until she married Mark, the rich stepfather who upgraded our house, our clothes, our vacations, and inflated her obsession with reputation into something almost holy. My job as the good kid was simple. Keep the peace, get good grades, smile on cue. When I first came out in college, Elena cried for 3 days, then sat me down at the polished kitchen island. "We can manage this," she'd said, eyes flicking toward the bay window like the neighbors might be lip-reading. "Just be discreet. Don't rub it in people's faces. Don't make things harder than they already are." So I dated in the shadows. The first girl I loved didn't fit our image. The guy after that seemed unstable. Somehow, every person I cared about had a flaw big enough to disqualify them from being seen at Thanksgiving. I thought it was bad luck. I thought Elena just had high standards. Then I brought Sam over for dinner. Sam showed up with a homemade pie, grease-stained work pants, and more genuine warmth than anyone I'd ever introduced. Mechanic by day, painter by night. They shook my mother's hand and said, "Thanks for having me, Ms. Lopez. Alex talks about your arroz con pollo nonstop." Elena smiled too wide. "Oh, how practical," she said when Sam mentioned their shop. "We always need good people who work with their hands." Jason caught my eye from across the table, his mouth pressed into a thin, warning line. The first wound came on the drive home, as Elena joked about it. "So this is the grand love that was worth throwing your future away?" I didn't realize that night she'd already decided Sam would never be truly human. The first time my family crossed a line with Sam, it was my fault I didn't walk away. It was Easter, Elena's favorite holiday, because it combined church clothes with brunch photos. She texted me, "Family only today. Keep things simple." I stupidly assumed that meant no +1s for anyone and told Sam I'd see them after. When I arrived, Jason's girlfriend was there. So were Mark's coworkers, their spouses, and even the new neighbors my mom was trying to impress. I stood in the foyer, holding a store-bought fruit tray like it was a shield. "You said family only," I muttered to Elena in the kitchen. She didn't look up from arranging pastries. "Yes, people who make sense in a family photo." I stared at her. "So Sam doesn't." She sighed, exasperated. "Alex, must you drag drama into every occasion? Today is about tradition. About appearances. You know people talk." Later, while everyone hunted eggs on the manicured lawn, I checked my phone. Sam had sent a picture of the burger they were eating alone on our sagging couch. "Hope they're treating you okay," they'd written. "I saved you fries." Guilt pooled in my stomach. I slipped into the pantry to call them. "I'll come get you," I whispered. "You should be here." Sam hesitated. Do you want me there, or do you want things quiet? I closed my eyes. I could hear Elena laughing in the next room. That bright hostess laugh she used like a weapon. I want you, I said, but I don't think my mom does. There was a beat of silence, heavier than any shout. Okay, Sam said softly. Then maybe it's time you decide who you're really protecting. I walked out of that pantry with my heart split down the middle, pretending it wasn't already bleeding. I had no idea the next family-only event would weaponize my love publicly. Elena's 50th birthday was supposed to be a celebration, not a crucifixion. She rented out a rooftop restaurant with glass walls and a view of the city. Waiters floated by with tiny appetizers that cost more than our weekly groceries. I wore a navy blazer she'd picked, the one she said made me look acceptably successful for a teacher. Sam wore a black button-down and the nice boots we'd saved up for, fingers laced with mine under the tablecloth. At first, Elena played the perfect hostess, kissing both my cheeks, even giving Sam a stiff side hug. Thank you for coming, she murmured, like we were distant co-workers, not family. Halfway through the night, after her second glass of champagne, someone toasted to Elena, who sacrificed everything for her kids. She smiled, eyes glassy, and waved her hand toward Jason. My doctor, she said proudly. Then toward me. And my artist. I blinked. Mom, I teach. Full-time. Yes, yes, she said, helping little children color inside the lines. Laughter rippled across the room. She leaned closer to the mic. We all have dreams. Some of us grow out of them. I felt my face burn. Sam's jaw tightened. Later, as cake was served, one of Mark's friends asked loudly, So, Sam, when are you going back to school? Or is oil change money enough these days? Sam smiled thinly. I own half the shop. It pays the bills. Elena chimed in, voice syrupy. Alex could have married a lawyer, you know. Or at least someone portable. Mom, I snapped. The room hushed. She turned those sharp eyes on me. If you insist on embarrassing yourself, at least be quiet about it. That night, after guests trickled out, she cornered me in the empty dining area, city lights reflecting in the glass walls like 100 watching eyes. Choose, she said, your family or this face. Her voice was calm, but the choice she offered was a loaded gun. I remember every single detail from the ultimatum, like my brain carved it in stone. The restaurant staff were blowing out candles and stacking chairs. Jason stood near the bar, pretending to scroll his phone. Sam waited by the elevator, shoulders tense. Elena stepped close enough that I could smell her perfume, something expensive and suffocating. You think this is about Sam being Sam, she said, voice low. It isn't. It's about respect. It's about you choosing strangers over blood. They're not a stranger, I said. They're the person I want to spend my life with. She laughed once, sharp. You don't even know what life is yet. Jason cleared his throat. Mom, maybe we can. She snapped her fingers at him without looking. Stay out of this. Then, to me, if you walk out of here with them, understand something. You are choosing them over us. There will be no coming back. No phone calls, no money, no holidays. You will be alone when they leave you, and we will not be here to pick up the pieces. The words hit harder than any slap. My mind flickered through Christmas mornings, scraped knees, late-night talks after breakups. Jason's dumb jokes. Aunt Rose's caldo when I was sick. All of it standing behind Elena like a wall. I'd be demolishing myself. Behind me, the elevator dinged. Sam's voice floated over. Alex, you okay? Elena's eyes gleamed. Family first. Or are you really willing to throw us away for that? My legs shook as I turned, walking toward Sam like I was stepping off a cliff. I reached for their hand. Yeah, I said, loud enough to echo against the glass. I am. Elena's face went slack, then cold. Then you're no longer my child. Jason didn't move. Not even when Elena took my house key off her ring and dropped it into her clutch like loose change. I didn't know exile could feel so much like still being watched. Starting over with Sam should have felt romantic. Mostly it felt like panic with good lighting. We moved into a one-bedroom above a laundromat that always smelled like detergent and burnt dust. The pipes clanged, the walls were thin, and the heater sounded like it was coughing up ghosts. But there was a tiny balcony where Sam hung string lights, and a patch of sun that hit the secondhand couch just right at noon. I picked up extra tutoring shifts on top of teaching. Sam took more weekend shifts at the shop and started selling paintings at local markets. We argued about stupid things, whose turn it was to do dishes, whether we could afford takeout, whether I was texting my aunt too much or not enough. At night, grief would sneak up on me while we brushed our teeth or folded laundry. I'd see some dumb meme about moms and send it to no one. Hear a siren and think, Jason's at the hospital right now. Then remember I had no idea if that was true. One Friday, I came home to find Sam sitting on the floor, surrounded by canvases. They'd painted our balcony, the string lights glowing against a dark sky, two figures leaning on the railing. That us? I asked, dropping my bag. Sam shrugged. I wanted to paint something that exists because we chose it. I sat beside them, throat tight. Do you ever resent me? For making you the line in the sand? They looked at me like I'd grown a second head. Alex, you didn't make me the line. Your family did when they drew it. I leaned my forehead against theirs, breathing in paint and detergent and the faint smell of motor oil that never quite left their clothes. I'm terrified I'll wake up one day and regret everything, I whispered. Sam's voice was steady. I'm terrified you'll wake up and go back. Neither of us knew the first knock on that fear was already coming. The rumors started as little glitches in my new normal. First, it was a message from a cousin I barely knew. Hey, heard about your mom. Hope you're okay. I stared at it, finger hovering over reply, before locking my phone and shoving it into a drawer. Then Aunt Rosa called from a blocked number. I answered only because Sam mouthed, "Just see who it is." "Me, Joe," she said, voice soft. "I won't stay long. I just wanted you to know your mom's not invincible." "She never was," I said. "She just had better costumes." Rosa sighed. "Things are tense. Mark's business, the house, Jason's loans, everything's on a thread. Your mother pretends it's fine, but she looks tired in a way I don't recognize." I swallowed. She made her choice. "I know," Rosa said. "And I saw yours. I'm proud of you, even if she isn't." A week later, Jason texted at 2 a.m. "Do you hate us?" I stared at the screen in the dark, Sam breathing steadily beside me. I typed and deleted a dozen replies before finally sending. "I don't know who us is anymore." He didn't answer. Not long after, I started getting hang-up calls from a private number. Once, when I answered, I heard Elena's voice in the background saying, "Just leave it, Jason," before the line went dead. At school, during a break between classes, I scrolled through social media and saw a photo from a charity gala. Elena in a glittering dress, smile tight, Jason at her side. The caption mentioned a fundraiser for family services and supporting marginalized youth. I laughed out loud, a bitter, ugly sound that made my coworker glance over. "Everything okay?" she asked. "Yeah," I lied. "Just ghosts." I didn't know the ghosts were about to become flesh and blood at my front door. The night my past rang the buzzer, the laundromat downstairs had already gone silent. It was almost midnight when the buzzer sounded, a harsh electric buzz that made both of us jump. Sam muted the TV. Maybe it's the neighbor again. Forgot his keys. But when I picked up the intercom, Jason's voice crackled through. "Alex, it's me. Please don't hang up." My heart slammed against my ribs. "What are you doing here?" "Can we come up?" he asked. "It's Mom. She's in the car." Every instinct screamed no. But years of being the fixer, the one who soothed and smoothed and swallowed my own feelings, reared up like muscle memory. I buzzed them in. Elena looked smaller than I remembered when she stepped into our hallway, makeup smeared, hair slightly out of place like she'd rushed out without checking a mirror. That alone terrified me. "Alex," she said, like my name hurt. "We need your help." Sam stood just behind me, hand on my back. "You can sit," they offered, gesturing to our sagging couch. Elena's eyes flicked over the apartment, taking in the chipped paint, the mismatched furniture, the drying rack full of Sam's coveralls. Something like disgust flashed across her face before she smoothed it away. Jason spoke first. "Mom collapsed at the gala last week. They found something on the scans. There are decisions to be made." I folded my arms. "Why me? You have Mark. You have each other." Elena swallowed. "Mark is busy. And some of the paperwork, advanced directives, financial authorizations, still have your name. We never updated them." I almost laughed. So I was dead to her, except where I was legally useful. She reached into her bag and pulled out a folder thick with papers. "We need you to sign, to meet with the doctors, to support the statement about our family." Sam's hand on my back tightened. "Statement?" they asked. Elena looked straight at me. They're talking about ethics, about how we present ourselves. The press is sniffing around, Alex. We need you to help us look united. In that moment, I realized they didn't just want forgiveness, they wanted my silence. I didn't say yes, but I didn't say no either. That was my first mistake. I'll go to the hospital, I told them. I'll talk to the doctors. After that, we'll see. On the drive over the next day, Sam's knuckles were white on the steering wheel. You don't owe them your life just because they suddenly remember you exist, they said. I know, I replied. But if I don't go and something happens, can I live with that? The hospital smelled like disinfectant and stale coffee. Jason led us to Elena's room, where she lay hooked up to machines, looking both younger and older at once. When she opened her eyes and saw me, they filled instantly with tears. Me baby, she whispered. You came. The doctor spoke in clipped, efficient phrases about masses and options and risks. Then he looked at me. You're listed as medical proxy if Mrs. Lopez is incapacitated. We need to confirm that's still accurate. Elena's fingers clutched mine. You'll do what's best for me, won't you? The weight of that question pressed on my chest like a cinder block. Afterward, in the hallway, Jason handed me another folder. There's also financial stuff. The house, Mark's business, some accounts. The lawyer wants to meet all of us. Why? I asked. I haven't been part of this family for years, remember? Jason winced. You know she didn't mean it. She meant every word. I said. You just didn't have to live with the echoes. That night, back home, I spread the documents on our table while Sam made tea. Bank statements, property records, donations. But as I skimmed, something felt off. Amounts that didn't line up with what I knew of Mark's income. Withdrawals labeled as consulting fees, money moving in and out of charitable funds like tides. Sam set a mug beside me. You have that look, they said. The one you get when a teenager tells you they lost their homework. I traced a line of numbers with my finger. I think my family's been lying about more than just me. I just didn't know yet that those lies had Sam's name buried inside them. Once I started looking, the cracks in my family's story weren't cracks. They were canyons. At the lawyer's office, a sleek place with too much glass, Mr. Chin slid documents across the table like playing cards. Elena sat beside me, composed but pale, Jason across from us twisting his watch band. Sam waited in the lobby. Elena had insisted this was family business. As you can see, Mr. Chin said, tapping a page, the Family Foundation has made significant contributions to community programs. However, some of these funds are entangled with personal assets. Meaning what? I asked. Meaning, he said, that if there are disputes or investigations, the line between charity and personal income could be questioned. Elena smiled tightly. We've always been generous. That's not a crime. On the drive home, I couldn't stop thinking about one particular program, a grant for LGBTQ youth housing that I'd seen advertised at the community center where some of my students went. The flyer had Elena's face on it. That night, I dug deeper, Googling board members, checking charity watchdog sites, cross-referencing dates. Over and over, I saw the same pattern, public acts of allyship paired with financial moves that benefited Mark's business and Elena's image. Then I stumbled on something that made my blood run cold, an email thread from years ago, attached to a grant application. It had my old address on it. The grant was for emergency housing for at-risk youth who experience family rejection due to sexual or gender identity. In the comments section, someone had written, "We have a personal story in the family. Elena's child struggled but is now thriving independently with family support." I remembered that period vividly. I wasn't thriving. I was sleeping on a friend's couch because Elena had told me to leave if I insisted on parading my lifestyle. I checked the date on the email. It was the same week she'd refused to let Sam into the house. Shaking, I called Jason. Did Mom use my story to get money while I crashed on couches? There was a long silence. I didn't know you saw those emails, he finally said. His next words proved my mother hadn't just rewritten my story, she'd sold it. She said it was for the greater good, Jason murmured. That your situation could help other kids. I was homeless because of her, I said. She made me into a PR pitch. Jason's breath hitched. I know it sounds bad, but the program did help people. At what cost? I snapped. Did she tell them she kicked me out? Or did she frame it as some brave journey we went on together? He didn't answer. That night, I printed the emails and tucked them into a manila folder alongside the bank statements. Sam watched from the doorway. You're building a case, they said. I'm trying to understand what I'm part of before I sign anything, I replied. When we went back to the hospital, Elena was propped up with pillows, TV muted, the sound of her oxygen cannula hissing softly. She reached for my hand. You spoke with Mr. Chun? She asked. Yes, I said. We did. So you understand, she said, eyes shining. We've worked so hard to build something important. We can't let it fall apart because people love scandals. Is that what you call this? I asked. A scandal. She bristled. People don't understand our culture, our sacrifices. They see one choice and call it cruelty. One choice. I repeated. You turned my life into a fundraising bullet point while I slept on a futon. Her jaw tightened. Watch your tone. After everything we've done, everything you've done, I cut in. Without my consent. Without the truth. She leaned forward, breath ragged. If you refuse to help, they will dig. They will drag our family through the mud. Jason's career, the foundation, my legacy gone. And for what? Your pride? Your little relationship? Sam, standing in the doorway, flinched. I looked between them. My partner, who held me when panic attacks hit at 3 a.m., and my mother, who could still reduce me to a trembling kid with a handful of words. Maybe, I said slowly. For once my pride deserves to win. Elena's next move proved she'd rather burn me than admit she was wrong. 2 days later, I found out Elena had contacted my principal. I was in my classroom grading essays when he knocked on the door. Got a minute, Alex? He asked, closing it behind him. His face was carefully neutral. I received a call from your mother, he said. She implied there might be conflict of interest issues, that your personal situation could interfere with your work with students. Heat surged up my neck. She what? She wondered whether your involvement in the family foundation mess could reflect poorly on the school, he added gently. I told her your personal life is none of our business as long as it doesn't affect your job, which it hasn't. My hands shook so hard I had to set my pen down. I am so sorry she dragged you into this. After he left, I sat alone in the fluorescent hum, staring at the motivational posters on my walls. Family first. Teamwork makes the dream work. All suddenly nauseating. That night, I drove to Aunt Rose's without telling anyone. She lived in a smaller house than Elena's, but it felt bigger somehow. Walls lined with photos that weren't curated, mismatched furniture that actually looked sad on. She poured me tea and listened as I spilled everything. The emails, the bank records, Elena's call to my principal. Rosa shook her head, eyes sad. Your mother learned young that stories can be currency, she said. She never realized some stories aren't hers to sell. I don't know what to do, I admitted. If I sign and help her, I'm complicit. If I don't, Jason's career could get dragged into this. Programs that actually help kids could suffer. Rosa reached across the table, squeezing my hand. Help where it's clean, she said. Don't launder her sins with your silence. On the drive home, Sam texted, whatever you decide it with both of us in the room. I stared at the glowing screen in the dark car, feeling something inside me finally realign. For the first time, I realized choosing love might mean choosing to expose everything. We called a family meeting at Elena's house, if you could still call us that. Sam insisted on coming this time. If your relationship is the excuse for all this, they said, I refuse to be a ghost in the room. Elena sat at the head of the dining table, a silk scarf hiding the port in her chest. Jason hovered near the sideboard, pouring water like it was vodka. Mark was out of town on business, according to Elena, which probably meant avoiding consequences. I placed the manila folder in the center of the table. We need to talk about what you've been doing with my life, I said. Elena's smile was thin. Drama isn't necessary, Alex. We just need you to sign. No, I said. You need me to shut up. Sam, sitting beside me, added quietly, and to pretend your generosity wasn't built on hurting Alex. I slid out the printed emails, the bank statements, highlighted lines glowing accusingly under the chandelier. You used my homelessness as a selling point for donors, I said. You moved money through charities while framing yourself as a savior. And now you want me to keep the story tidy so no one looks too closely. Jason paled as he read, lips moving silently over the words. Mom, is this true? Elena's eyes flashed. We help people. Do you think those shelters paid for themselves? Sometimes you have to bend things for the greater good. At whose expense? I asked. Mine? Sam's. Every kid who'll think you're safe, only to be thrown out when the cameras turn off? She slammed her hand on the table. If you expose this, you destroy everything we've built. I took a breath that felt like ripping out stitches. No, Mom. You did that the day you chose reputation over your child. What I said next would decide whether I still had any family at all. I'll sign the medical forms, I said slowly. I will help make decisions about your care, because despite everything, I don't want you to suffer more than you already are. Elena exhaled, shoulders sagging in relief. But, I continued, I will not sign anything that ties me to your financial mess. I will not endorse your foundation, your statements, or your version of what happened to me. And if an investigation comes, I will tell the truth. All of it. Her relief curdled into fury. You're my child, she hissed. You owe me. I owed you honesty, I said. You sold it for donations. Jason put his head in his hands. Alex, think about the programs. The kids. I said. They deserve real help, not help that depends on silence and lies. Sam reached for my hand under the table, fingers warm and steady. We'll help those kids in other ways, they murmured. Ways that don't cost your soul. Aunt Rosa, who had arrived late and quietly taken a seat at the far end, spoke up for the first time. Elena, she said, voice firm. You taught Alex family means never questioning you. Maybe it's time you learn family also means owning what you've done. Elena's eyes filled with tears, of rage, of fear, of something I couldn't name. If you do this, she whispered, don't ever come back. I stood. You already threw me out once, I said. This time, I'm walking out on my own terms. We left the folder on the table, truth sandwiched between shame and denial. Outside, under the same sky that once watched me stagger away in shock, I laced my fingers with Sam's and didn't look back. I thought that was the end. I didn't expect the letter that followed. The letter arrived 3 months later, long after the initial storm settled. By then, life had started to feel like ours again. Elena's health stabilized enough that she could make her own choices with the doctors, and investigations into the foundation had begun on their own, sparked by whispers I didn't start, but didn't smother either. Programs were restructured under new leadership. Jason moved to a smaller clinic in another city. We texted occasionally, cautiously. Sam and I went to therapy, both together and separately. We built new holiday traditions, friendsgiving potlucks, movie marathons, volunteering at shelters that didn't use people as props. Our apartment was still small, but there were more plants, more paintings, more laughter that didn't feel like it needed permission. The envelope had Elena's handwriting on it. My stomach flipped as I opened it at the kitchen counter. She wrote about pain, physical, emotional, generational. She didn't apologize for everything. It wasn't some perfect script. But in shaky lines she admitted things I never thought I'd see in ink. I thought love meant control, she wrote. I thought if I shaped you hard enough, you'd survive in a world that hates difference. I made the world inside this house worse than the one outside. Near the end, a sentence stopped me cold. If you ever want a version of family that doesn't cost you yourself, I will try to learn how to be that. Sam read over my shoulder, then kissed my temple. What do you think? They asked. I folded the letter carefully. I think I'm not ready to find out, I said. But I'm glad she finally understands the price tag. That night, on our little balcony under the string lights, friends laughing inside, Sam's hand warm in mine, I realized something quietly monumental. Choosing love over family hadn't actually meant losing family. It meant finally choosing the kind of family that chose me back.